Wes, very good to see you. Today we are talking through 3 financial planning mistakes that you really should avoid. According to Bankrate.com, nearly 3/4 of US adults regret at least one financial decision. So today we're going to break down the top 3 planning mistakes. You've been doing this a while, you've seen a lot. So number 1 is not having a grip on your retirement. GRIP is an acronym. What does it stand for?
Well, first of all, I think if people were being super honest in that survey, it's probably near 100% that have some
Probably.
sort of regret, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's very common to find that people have a regret on their GRIP. And what is that? That's a guaranteed retirement income plan.
Mhm.
Those that have pensions, they have that already set up. But we know that pensions are not that common these days. And those that do not have a pension, oftentimes it makes sense to kind of create your own. And that gives you a little bit of stability for your retirement cash flow. So sometimes it makes sense to use things like an annuity. There's many different kinds out there. There's lots of bad ones. There are some good ones, and they're not for everybody. But if they fit into a plan properly, they can be a really good fit to kind of help guarantee a portion of their retirement income needs.
Absolutely. It all comes back to peace of mind, right?
That's right.
All right, now let's talk about mistake number 2, taking inappropriate risk. Taking on too much or even too little can derail your retirement. But how do we know that we're taking on the right amount?
Well, if you're taking on the right amount is if you bring two things together. And those two things are your risk tolerance and your risk capacity. So let's break those down really quickly.
Yeah.
A risk tolerance is oftentimes just simply defined by some sort of questionnaire that I think is way too simplified. And it simply gives you, how much risk on the upper echelon, how much rate of return do you want? And then how much do you really mind losing until you, for lack of a better term, freak out, right? And you
Mhm.
want to make substantial changes. So that kind of gauges your emotional gut check. And then on the other side of things, there's your capacity for risk or your risk capacity. That's when we couple your risk tolerance with your actual plan, because that will let you know how much can you afford to lose, and correspondingly, how much rate of return do you need in order for your assets to be there to produce the income, the cash flow to fund your lifestyle for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So those are two really important things that we must bridge together in conjunction with your plan.
Right, good point. I bet that back when the markets dipped a bit in April, a lot of people were revisiting their risk comfort zone, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a time where you're like, "Whoa, is this the right place for me?"
Yeah,
That
I
was a
think we're all saying
short-term
that.
kind of movement in the market.
All right, and last, we have a gross planning mistake, focusing too much on your gross savings, i.e., what a lot of us do, which is saving too much in those tax-deferred accounts. But why is this a mistake?
Well, it can often be a mistake because we lack tax diversity in retirement if that's the only vehicle that we save into. So there's really 3 main kinds of money, right? You've got your pre-tax money, that's like your traditional 401ks and IRAs. And then you've got tax-free, that's after tax deposits. That could be Roth IRAs, or it could be federally tax-free by using muni bonds. And then, of course, you've got your taxable investments. So anything you receive the 1099 interest and dividends on, capital gains, and so forth, like in a brokerage account. So if you're able to diversify in the way in which you save, you have different buckets of money. Then when you're in retirement, you have lots of optionality. But what we do know is that many people go into retirement with only the pre-tax savings, and that really makes the IRS a greater partner in your retirement. So if tax rates do go up, you're super sensitive to that. And the reality is we haven't met anyone yet who's like, I wish I didn't save so much in this tax-free account, right? I've got so much tax-free money, I don't know what to do. That's a good problem to have. And at the end of the day, it's really smart to have all kinds of those savings so you have that optionality.
Yeah, I was talking to my aunt who's in her 80s recently, and she was saying to me as advice, like, Erin, I wish I'd known about Roths earlier. Me too. I wish I'd been contributing in my 20s.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Wes, if somebody is learning something by, listening to us talk through these mistakes, perhaps they're making some. Of course, corrections are always possible. We have a lot of time ahead of us. What's the best way to reach you?
Happy to be a resource. Just give us a call, 919 888-322-4113, or send us a message to info@patriotwealthnc.com.
All right, Wes, thank you.
Thank you.